Irani relatives really appreciate every American who stands up against any kind of escalation of aggression against Iran. But this isn't necessarily a problem that began with Trump. I think it's important to point that out. Going as far back as the 1950s, when Iran wanted to nationalize its oil, something that every country should have the right to do, ownership of its own natural resources. The man who made that possible, Mohammad Mossadegh, the first democratically elected prime minister of Iran, was ousted in a coup orchestrated by the CIA and MI6 in order to maintain British semi-colonial ownership of the oil, and the U.S. along with Great Britain installed the Shah as a brutal dictator who ended up repressing the Iranian people. Ultimately, this culminated in the Islamic Revolution, which instituted the regime that we have today. Any kind of blame that can be placed on the institution of this regime, I think the rightful blame is on Western powers for intervening and stopping a democratic process. And the intervention obviously doesn't stop there. It continued in Saddam Hussein's invasion of Iran, when most people don't know this, but he was actually our ally at one point. We backed him. We gave him chemical weapons in his assault on the Iranian people, resulting in hundreds of thousands of deaths. And to this day, brutal sanctions that have done nothing but hurt the average Iranian person, culminating in now Trump's recent aggressions, the assassination of Qasem Soleimani, which is clearly an act of war, the killing of the military leader of another country. So yeah, this is another chapter in the history of imperialism, of U.S. imperialism, and it is our responsibility as Americans to stand up. And I'm glad that y'all have come on such short notice to voice your opposition, and that we can finally end U.S. intervention in Iran, Iraq, many countries in the global south. And I also feel the need to point out that I personally feel like it doesn't matter who the Democratic nominee is in this case, because a lot of Democrats tend to beat the drums of war, and repeat a lot of talking points that Republicans repeat when it comes to war and foreign policy. And I personally believe that Bernie Sanders is the best candidate for stopping any further military escalation in the Middle East and putting an end to endless wars. And that's all I have to say. Thanks for coming.